Hey there, it's Derek from Pacific Coast Auto in Japan, and we're looking at a Nissan Skyline 4-door ER34 turbocharged 2.5 liter rear wheel drive sedan. Sedan? That's right. That we bought here in auction in Japan. We're going to be exporting this one over to Canada under the 15-year import rule. And we'll check the condition of the car and compare it to the auction inspection sheet. Overall, I would consider this one to be a very good condition Skyline. By this time, these are now 20 years old, 22 years old. Hard to find them in good condition. For a long time, they weren't that expensive. You could get a 4-door sedan for like $3,000, but now it's like 4 or 5 times that. So prices definitely came up. In anticipation for the USA becoming legal for these, we're going to see prices increase even more. And so now would be a good time to buy them if you can find them in good condition. So let's take a look at this one. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I do like the 4 doors better than I like the 2 doors, the non-GTRs. And part of the reason for that is that I really don't like the back end of the 2-door coupe version. That's just my personal preference. But I like the 4-door version. I think it has really smart, good-looking lines on it. And it still is very easy to tell it's a Skyline. Okay, so this engine puts out 280 horsepower, which is kind of funny because the GTR also technically puts out 280 horsepower, but the GTR is a sportier version of the engine. This is an RB25. The GTR has the RB26. Quite a bit of a different engine between the two, even though they're both RBs. This one has a different intake with a single throttle body, whereas the RB26 has 6 throttle bodies, 1 for each cylinder. Gives it a very distinct feel to it. The 26 also has twin turbo, where this is a single turbo, but you still get 250 horsepower. I guess you can consider this to be pretty similar to Toyota's 1JZ engine, which is also an inline 6-cylinder, single turbo, 2.5 liter. I like these engines. People use these as drift engines because they're readily available in a lot of different cars. They're easy to swap into a lot of different cars. You can put these into Silvias fairly easily. Skylines. You can transfer a non-turbo to a turbo version of the engine with one of these. This one's an automatic transmission, which is really the only way to make these affordable at the moment. You can swap to a manual. I think in Japan it's somewhere around $5,000 to get that done, but you save more than $5,000 on getting an automatic. Okay, so the timing belt on this one has been changed at 97,000 kilometers. It currently has 103, I think. Yeah, 103,665 at the time of auction. This is the original auction inspection sheet. No rust on the strut towers at all, which is really good to see. It has adjustable suspension on it, which I think is RSR brand. Okay. We'll just lower the hood. I did check the oil and the coolant. Both of them look like they're in fine condition, so no issues there, but it's always a good idea to get those changed when the car lands. Here's a quick look at what the car looks like. And this one has the Nismo front bumper on it, which has a fairly aggressive front end, but that is an original optional front bumper, and rear bumper has been transferred over as well. Has Nismo wheels on it, which is really nice to see, and a nice dish on the back one. 2 35s front, 2 55s rear, and then it came with a set of NK Racing wheels. I've got another video for those, so if you're the buyer, check out that video. It's got some important information in it. So let's go over the auction inspection sheet. This is a year 2000 Skyline GTX Turbo 2.5 liter, auction grade 4 with an interior B, and I'd say both of those are quite accurate. 103,665 kilometers, automatic transmission, climate control AC, power steering, power windows. Original silver paint. Sales points are purchased from user, Nismo exhaust. Oh, it says Nismo adjustable suspension. Is that right? Let's go take a peek. I did peek in it. You can't really see very much in here because it's all dark and stuff. Can't really see. Anyways, Ray's 18-inch wheels. They're made by Ray's. Ray's makes the Nismo wheels. They're not in the best condition, but they are a very valuable, very sought-after wheel that can be restored. There are a few scrapes on them, minor scrapes like this, and then the general finish, like the clear coat, has some damage to it that looks like scratches. It's very typical for an alloy wheel to do that, and these are probably a 20-plus-year-old wheel. And they are a multi-part wheel, so you can take them apart to refinish them if you want. Okay, front aero bumper on it. Aftermarket xenon headlights, front tower bar, rear wing. Rear wing is an original rear wing, I think. History from 2005 to 2009, and 2011 to 2013, and 2015 to 2017, and 2019 to 2020. The reason why they put the dash in there is because that means that every time it went in for inspection between those times, then there is an inspection certificate for it. Okay. Adjustable suspension wrench doesn't come with it, and the original front bumper is available if you wanted it, but we chose to decline because they're really not worth that much, and it's more of a headache to bring in a huge bumper and try to ship it than it is for the value of the bumper. The report here says interior dirty and scratched, steering wheel wear, wheels and door mirrors scratched, seat side has wear. It's actually not that worn. Underside has some surface rust. It's one of the cleaner Skylines that I've seen, so that's good. And then engine oil leak. I didn't notice any engine oil leak. Sometimes they say that when it's really mild. Sometimes it prevents you from shipping the car if there's an oil leak. And that's leaking down there is just water from the rain this morning. It's not actually leaking anything. So I don't think the oil leak is a problem. Oftentimes it's just some oil seepage and can be cleaned up and doesn't need to have the gasket replaced. Okay, so an A3 on the side skirt here and paint cracks on the front bumper as well as A2. There's also A1. The front end has quite a few rock chips, and it's one of the only real issues on it. And then the rear bumper UA2 and a scuff A2 on the other side skirt over here. So let's take you for once around of the car so that you can see it. Now the condition of the paint is quite glossy and nice. It looks like it's been maintained properly through the years. It also has RE71R tires from Potenza, Bridgestone Potenza tires. A very grippy, semi-slick tire that you normally wouldn't run on the streets unless you want to replace your tires all the time. And they're down to about 40%. I see if I can remember this. 40% on, or 50% on the rear, and about 70 or 80% on the fronts. And yes, they are a staggered setup, so you can't swap those forward to back. Look at this, we got giant mushrooms. But you're not here for the mushrooms, right? Derek, get your head in the game. So yeah, looks good. Skylines are hard to get. Their prices are going up and will continue to for the rest of life. Like the Hakoska version of the Skyline, C10 from the 1960s. I thought they were expensive when they were 20 grand. And then I thought they were expensive at 50 grand. We're talking about not even the GTRs. And now many of them are poking past $100,000 for them. You got to think that this, like the Hakoska and the R34, are the two most sought after versions of the Skyline. Whether this be a GTR or not, it's still going to be pretty popular in the future. Get one while you can. Okay, so some things, some of the details here. Headlights are generally pretty good. A little bit cloudy, but not bad. You'll see lots of little white marks here. These are all rock chips. There's probably about 30 of them on the front. Okay, here's the paint crack that they were talking about. It's right there. Has a number of areas where stickers have been put on. I think they were covering up scratches. It says Nismo there, and a Nismo over here, and Nismo Motorsports International here. A little bit of a crack down there. The underside is scratched. Also, this bumper's been repainted. I don't think it was an original gray. And usually this section where it says Skyline, usually that is body color. And in all honesty, I don't like the look of that. I think it looks better with it painted. You also can see a little bit of a slight difference in color between the bumper and the other sections of the car, but it is minor. Okay, headlights are in good shape. Side panels are good. Front fender has been very slightly rolled, probably pinched up about 3 millimeters. It's running a fairly hard suspension, so you don't have to worry about rubbing. Coming down here, everything looks good. Rear isn't rolled, and I think the height of the vehicle is actually quite good like this. Low vehicles I think can look cool, but oftentimes you lose your handling when you lower the car too much, especially if you have to run a really stiff spring on the street. in order to get that height. Okay, back bumper dent here and here, and they call this AU2, here and here and here. They all look like they hit the same thing too, because they kind of have the similar looking imprint at each part where it's dented. A little bit of a paint crack there, and yeah, I think this is the Nismo rear bumper. Not 100% sure on that. Okay, a big burly exhaust on it. They called this a Nismo exhaust. That's cool. And it says Weldon, which is very similar to my last name, which is Weldon, not Weldon. So it's not my car. This side also looking really good all the way down. We have a little bit of peeling right here. Not so bad, and a touch here as well. The interior, I have to say, is in quite good condition. Okay, this plastic tends to peel pretty badly. There is a little bit in here. It doesn't like the humidity, and then it becomes soft and easy to scratch, sort of like asphalt does on a hot day. Here's a look at the seats. Nothing spectacular about these seats. The GTR seats are fantastic. Just like the Impreza WRX seats are really good. Not a big fan of an Integra Type R seats, or Evo seats for that matter. I don't know, the more I try them, the less I like most of the Recaro seats that I sit in. Okay, maybe a touch of sagginess there or here, but generally speaking pretty good. Steering wheels, they tend to peel pretty badly on these cars. This one is pretty good. You can see just a little bit at the top. Has switches on the steering wheel to shift gears if you want. And I think it's a 4-speed automatic transmission, so you don't have that many gears to shift. Coming inside, pretty standard 4 gauges here. You get auxiliary gauges here for battery, oil temperature, and boost. Okay, this is all the standard equipment here. Here is an aftermarket CD player, single DIN size, and then you get a compartment there for the other DIN of the 2 DINs. You can also shift here if you want, but I feel that feels really uncomfortable. Even though I'm used to shifting manual transmission here, I think that automatic feels really weird to push forward and back. And I feel like it should be the other way around. I feel like you should pull back to go up in gears and then push forward to go down in gears. Okay, a little bit of peeling here, a little bit of some sticky stuff here that I touched earlier and regretted. I want to wash my hands, it's still shiny on my finger. Okay, a pedal cover there. Not a big fan of pedal covers, I have to say. But the carpet is nice and clean. Oh, you can also peel that off and have the original one underneath. Carpet's clean over here. Dashboard has a couple of scratches here. I think that's the 3rd time I've mentioned that. Driver's seat also has a tiny bit of sagginess in the outside bolster there, which gets sat on when you enter or exit the car. The car has been smoked in. It doesn't smell like it at all, so I figure that the car hasn't been smoked in several years. Okay, the back in here is fine. You don't get a lot of room in the back of this. It's probably 3 Series size, even though the Skyline is probably a touch bigger than a 3 Series in actual footprint. Seats are fine, carpets are fine. No longer says Skyline on the hump, which the earlier models did. Okay. All right, let's go take a look in the trunk. And I love the size of this trunk. Nice and big. And look at this. You get somebody's blankie in the back. Actually, those wheels were on the back seats. Oh, and I gotta mention something. The wheels, these NK ones, were on the back seats here, but to keep them from making the seats dirty, I had that blankie on them. So I just folded it up and put it in here. And then you can snuggle in some JDM snuggly blankie. But the thing I was going to mention, putting the tires in dented the door panels. And these are made out of a foam material, so they might pop out over some time. So I won't keep the tires in there when it ships, and hopefully it'll be good by the time that it lands. There's a touch of sitting water inside here, but there's no rust. But it did just rain this morning. Okay, and then everything else back here looks good. I don't see any signs of an accident. Okay. So that's the end of the video here. I hope you enjoyed it. If you made it all the way to this part of the video, thank you very much for helping us out and watching the video. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day.